Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 233 of Hobby Quick Hits, our every other Monday podcast where we usually tackle one subject, one topic, and I just weigh in on it. It's no guest, just me, about 20 minutes. So here we are. And today's topic is card shows. And I am a veteran of card shows, did my first card show as a 15-year-old kid in 1987 and have done them ever since. So I'm on my 39th year. That's crazy even to say, but my 39th year of setting up as a dealer at card shows. I also go to card shows as a consumer and not setting up as well. So I've been on both sides of the table, and we've talked about card shows before. But it's been a bit, and so we're going to weigh in on kind of the current landscape, my thoughts, what we're seeing, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. So that's what today's podcast or topic is on Hobby Quick Hits. So with that being said, let's get into it.
Okay, now a quick word from our great sponsor, followed by the new product release schedule. Then we'll go around the Hobbyverse to tell you all the latest hobby happenings and news. Then we'll tackle today's topic of discussion.
Hi, this is Pat Hughes, Cubs announcer, coming to you from the Sports Card Shop in beautiful New Buffalo, Michigan. The Gocher family has built an incredible place here for collectors to buy, sell, and trade cards and memorabilia. Be sure to stop by and let them show you around. TheSportsCardShop.com, connecting sports, athletes, the hobby, and collectors around the world.
Hi, this is Alan Pinkett, and I'm here to tell you the Gocher family has done it again. They've just opened up the Sport Card Shop in downtown Valparaiso, Indiana, and it is awesome. If you're a collector, you need to check this place out. Tell them Alan sent you and get a free gift on your first visit.
Let's check out this week's Hobby Wax releases. Take it away, Max.
Hi guys, it's Max from the Sports Card Shop, bringing you guys the weekly releases for these upcoming few weeks here. Starting off on the 15th, we have 2026 Panini Immaculate Baseball, 2026 Panini Ring Royalty Major League Wrestling, 2025-26 Upper Deck Parkrose Hockey, and on the 16th, we have 2025-26 Topps Pristine Premier League Soccer. On the 17th, we have 2026 Leaf Metal Ring Kings. On the 22nd, we have 2026 Panini Donruss WNBA Basketball, 2025-26 Select Road Panini Road to FIFA World Cup 2026 Soccer. On the 22nd, also we have Topps Chrome Baseball 2026, including Topps Chrome Baseball Jumbo and 2026 Chrome Disney Sapphire. Also on the 22nd, we have Upper Deck All Elite Wrestling and Upper Deck Artifacts Golf, both for the 2026 release versions. And then we also have on the 23rd, 2025-26 Topps Inception Basketball. On the 24th, we have 2025 Panini Court Kings Basketball and 2025-26 Panini Obsidian Soccer. Thank you guys for tuning in and enjoy the rest of the show.
Let's go round the Hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
And find out. All right, pretty decent news week if you ask me, especially comparatively speaking to some quiet news as we ramp up towards the National. Let's start out what I consider the big story for the week, or one of them anyway. Opinions may vary. Michael Jordan and Upper Deck are continuing their longtime relationship, making Michael a legacy partner, which was almost like a lifetime contract. We don't have all the details, but I don't think Michael will be leaving Upper Deck anytime soon. So what does this mean? Well, the 2026 Goodwin's champions just got a little more interesting. Upper Deck bought 23 1986 87 Fleer basketball sealed packs, famous for having the Michael Jordan Fleer rookie. They had them encased. Well, before they did that, Michael Jordan signed all 23 packs on the front of the packs. He signed one of them, denoting it as a 101, and then they were encased. Redemptions will be in all forms of the 2026 Goodwin champions, including on the retail level, which I think is really cool. Again, one of those packs will be signaled or certified as a 1 of 1, if you will. And there's some other autos and some other things going on. They bought a sealed box, and they're going to auction that off at eBay, and some of the money is going to go to the Boys and Girls Clubs. That sealed box that they're going to auction off, I believe, on eBay, is also signed by Michael Jordan, and he wrote, basically, this is my rookie card box, which I think's pretty cool, and that's gonna fetch a hefty price tag. So, really cool the relationship between Upper Deck and MJ. He's also going to sign some memorabilia that can just be bought direct from Upper Deck as well, and some of that going to charity as well to boot. Let's go to another card manufacturer, not named Upper Deck, but Fanatics/Topps. They're doing something for the first time with the 2025/26 Topps Chrome Update Basketball Mega Boxes. They're removing the shrink wrap. For those that bought it, they're removing the shrink wrap and before sending you the product. They are not touching or opening the box itself, so the original packs will remain intact. And this is a move to prevent price gouging on the secondary level. And I support that, right? No one likes price gouging on the next level, if you will. But this rings a little hollow to me, and here's why I say that, if I may impart my opinion here. This isn't nothing new as far as price gouging on the secondary market, and some of Fanatics' previous policies sort of supported it, or they turned a blind eye to it. So now all of a sudden they want to be the good guy, air quotes, and prevent this from happening. And I guess I'm like, why now and why not before, right? I guess better late than never. We'll see if it works, and we'll see. This is a test run of an idea, and it'll be interesting to see if they continue that trend. I don't know how it's going to work, because if you're a breaker, you can still buy these boxes without the seal. Everyone knows that they're not coming sealed, so it's not a secret. No one really will say, well, they tampered with it. That's how they came. So I think breakers are still going to buy them and potentially drive up the prices. Will it be more difficult? Yeah, I do. But I just, it's just the timing's weird, and it's like, where were you before, right? And I'll just leave it at that. Another huge news story. We all know the iconic T206 Honus Wagner card. Well, a die cut, it's known as the die cut. It's a restored T206 Wagner, is headed for Legends of the Game auctions. This card can be seen at the Fanatics Fest that's coming up. It's graded CGC Authentic Restored, and the owner, or will be former owner, is former ESPN announcer and current, TV host, Keith Olbermann, very well-known collector. And, this is his card. He has two other non-restored onuses, and has decided to move this. A little backstory on this card. The auction will run to August 8th. So get just about when the National is over, and a few days after it will end. This card was bought, not by Oberman, but was bought at a New Jersey card shop during the 70s for $1. It's basically just Honus's bust. All the background card was cut out, but it was restored. They took another background and made it look like the original. So it's really two cards. And at one point, Keith Oberman bought it, not really knowing the backstory with it. It was sold in the 90s for $10,000 and then sort of disappeared, and no one had seen or heard from it again until Keith Oberman announced that he will be selling the card, and talked a little bit about how he got it restored, but he didn't think it was original, or he didn't know all the provenance of it. So you can own the Keith Oberman die cut restored CGC T206 Honus Wagner. Go to Legends of the Game auctions. This auction will end on August 8th and can be seen at Fanatics Fest. Cause, KAWS, the Brooklyn artist known as Brian Donnelly, and Topps are collaborating on some Dodgers and Yankees rivalry MLB cards and apparel. This isn't just cards, but apparel. But we're going to talk about the cards that will debut. These items will debut at Fanatics Fest. There's going to be parallels and autos and one-on-ones like you would normally see in most products. Just with Cause, Brian Donnelly, artist from Brooklyn, put in his own personal touch to it, if you will. And this story struck me. We'll finish up with this one. And this story struck me as different, if you will. We remember that Peter Steinberg stepped down as CEO of SGC some time back. I know Peter, great guy, really like him. Well, there's a new CEO installed by Collectors Holdings, and his name is Steinberg too. This is Jesse Steinberg. This is Peter's brother, who was a long-time SGC employee along with Peter. Then after the acquisition, went to PSA and worked with them. Well, he's going back to the SGC side of the house as the next CEO, succeeding his brother, Peter. Which, the whole thing strikes me kind of, I don't know. I know Peter, I don't know Jesse, but it's interesting, to say the least. And, so we'll see how this all shakes out. One of Jesse was quoted as saying one of his goals with taking the reins now at SGC is to get the turnaround times quicker again. And believe me, that's music to my ears as an SGC bulk subber. So we'll see if any progress is made, along those lines. But the headline reads, Jesse Steinberg succeeds brother Peter as new SGC CEO.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, let's talk about the current state of card shows. And I love card shows. I'm a dealer. I'm a consumer. Like I said in the intro, I'm on both sides of the table when it comes to card shows. And you've always heard me say, right, nothing beats an in-person transaction, right? Buying cards online is fine. I do it. Not a hypocrite about it. But nothing beats an in-person transaction where you can see the card, hold the card, look at the card up close before purchasing it or trading for it. You can also, haggle and barter to maybe get it at a lower price if need be. And, a card show, you're going to see stuff maybe you don't always see online too. As well. Some people aren't going to put certain things online, but they may put it in their showcases. I can attest to that myself, especially maybe if it's a more expensive card, I'd rather sell in an in-person deal. Again, just speaking for myself. So I'm a huge fan. but the question that, we're going to tackle some questions, right, that come up when it pertains to card shows. And one question is, are we getting too many? Are there too many? And I guess the easy, low-hanging fruit answer is that, the market will determine that. If no one attends a show, or no one, maybe the attendance isn't terrible, but spending is down and the dealers are, hey, the show, traffic was okay, but people, didn't pull their wallets or open their purses, that will determine whether a show survives or not. But one thing we all have noticed, right, is, obviously we have our Super Bowl of shows, the National. Now we have Fanatics Fest, which is a pseudo card show, but more of almost like a Comic-Con, most will tell you. But it's starting to add some more card show elements, and how can it not? It says Fanatics right on it, right? They own that, and they also own 3/4 of the major licensing. So why would they not use that to their advantage? So that's then we have a lot of the big regional shows, right? You got, the White Plains show, with the you got the Northeast, the Massachusetts, which was 1,000 tables, Burbank, Front Row. We just had Dan Bliss on Sports Card Nation. He's in 6 or 7 cities across the nation and growing, and to the point like his brand, someone tried to buy it, right, but he didn't sell it. And Dan knows how to put on a show. Anyone that talks about Front Row card shows will attest to that. And so we're seeing them in big cities. We're even seeing them in smaller towns. As far as if there's too many, I guess that will be up to us, right, the consumers, to determine. When I think of too many, I just think, if you live in a city and you can go to a card show every weekend, again, I'm only speaking for myself here, folks, that's a little bit too much, if you ask me. As much as I like a card show, every weekend to be in driving distance. When I say driving distance, I know people really do drive 5 or 6 hours. For me, driving distance to a card show is like an hour or less. When I'm talking on the local level, not the national or big regional, but your average run of the mill shows. And I hate to say them like that, but your lower level, smaller shows in comparison to the big boys, or the big shows. So an hour or less, if you could go every weekend, I think, in my opinion, that's a little overkill. I don't think we need a show every weekend in the same general region. I think the bloom comes off the rose that way. I've noticed when that's happened, it doesn't happen all the time here, but when it's happened here, I think people spend a little less money. I think some people are trying to go to all 4 shows, let's say, all 4 weekends, and budgeting accordingly, right? I think others might say, listen, I'm not going to all 4, I'm picking these 2 or this one. And so then you may not see them at a show that you're set up at, maybe a regular, or not a regular, but someone that would have been at the show you were at, but they chose another one. So I think the worst is when there's shows near each other on the same day. Don't laugh, it happens. I know it happened in Pittsburgh. I think last year there was a show across the street from each other, dueling shows. Some may say, well, it's good for both shows. Someone's going to probably go to both, most likely. Maybe, but now it's like putting a Burger King and a McDonald's across from each other. Will they still do all right? Sure. But someone's going to make a choice and not go to the other one, and I think that happened with card shows as well. So I guess the market will bear that out, but we'll see. So far, I don't think we've really hit that point, but shows are not slowing down. So could we get there eventually? Maybe. Flippers. I know people say, man, I hate to go to the show. The flippers are rude, the connotation flippers. I'm a to each their own guy, and anybody can be rude, right? at any given time, potentially. So I don't like to paint with that broad brush, as I like to use that expression. But one thing that does bother me, especially when I'm setting up at a show as a dealer, is, every once in a while there might be an empty table. Maybe someone had an emergency, couldn't make it. They couldn't sell the table at the last minute, and someone will set up, someone will plop their case down and kind of set up sort of illegally, if you will, make it like a trade night in the show. They might not be behind the table, but they'll just throw some of their cards in their case on the table. I'm not a fan of that, right? Like if you didn't pay for a table, and I know a lot of the promoters are right on top of that and will politely ask the person not to do that. But then what happens is they go into the hallway and a little mini trade night breaks out up there. If it's at the National and you have a lot of space, it's works better. But when you're at a smaller hotel venue, that can clog up some of the traffic coming in. So, I'm not trying to be the old man on the porch, but that bothers me a little bit too. Is it a deal breaker for me? Not at all. But I'm not a fan of that. If you want a wheel and deal, to me, get a table, get a tax number. That's the other thing. We can make it, governmental and say, man, how many of these people are setting up at shows without a tax number? And I don't do this show anymore, but I was doing a show up north from here. I'm in Syracuse. I was doing a show in the northern city. It was a monthly show. I don't do it anymore. This isn't the reason I don't do it anymore, but that promoter, for whatever reason, and that's on him, doesn't even check sales tax numbers. So if you want a table and you got $40-50, you can get a table. It's technically not legal, but as the saying goes, I guess it's not cheating until you get caught. So no tax number needed there. I again, for someone who pays sales tax, I'd be disingenuous if I said that didn't bother me. When it comes to card shows, I'm a pricer, so my cards are priced. Again, it's a starting point, right? So, and maybe I'm a little slow sometimes on recomping cards and repricing them. So I always tell people, especially people I know well enough, like, hey, if you see something, even if the price doesn't jive with you, like, ask. We can, again, the price is a starting point. Doesn't mean it's the firm price all the time, right? I actually price my cards that usually leave some wiggle room to begin with. So I always tell people, or I put a little sign out, if you're interested, let me know and we can go from there. So I'm a pricer. I'm not a fan of not pricing cards. If I'm at a show as a consumer and I'm walking around and there's a dealer, none of his stuff's priced, I'm not saying I'll never buy or never ask, but I tend to look at all the priced cards first. And then if something's if an unpriced card, I didn't see it anywhere else and I need it or want it, then I might ask, like, hey, how much is this Bo Jackson is making up a player name, and then go from there. So I think you do better as a dealer if your stuff's priced, especially if it's reasonably priced, or you have enough clientele. And I feel this fits my category where people know, like, hey, to barter, or that I will move off a price. Another thing that people complain about with card shows that I've heard or seen, as someone, again, that wears both of those card show hats. Well, there's the promoter hat too. That's the third hat. But I did that in the 90s, not recently. But, content on the show floor, right? We see people with like a film crew, 2 or 3 people, a phone on a selfie stick. They're walking around the show filming themselves, adding commentary, talking about deals or what they're seeing, and think about it, right? When you see like a news report outside on a street corner, right? But that's inside and there's a bunch of it. And sometimes it can get a little monotonous. And it doesn't really bother me. I've heard other people complain about it. But I think if it's too much, where it affects the presentation of the show or the flow of the show, getting from one part of the show to the other, I think that's where it becomes an issue for me. So I think most promoters sort of keep an eye on that, make sure it doesn't become an issue, and if it does, they're usually right on top of that. I don't do this per se, but I know a lot of dealers actually film their tables throughout the day for content, right? To in the deals they're making, the cards they're selling, trades they're making. I don't do that. I don't really have time. I'm doing the SGC bulk submission table, so I'm just kind of sort of running around constantly. I don't think it would be good content for that niche, if you will. The other thing is some people. I'm assuming when we see those videos, permission was granted by the customer that is in the video, because you really can't. I feel like you can't use that without permission. If I'm making a deal with somebody as a customer and they're filming, I would hope they gave me the courtesy of asking, "Hey, do you mind if I post this on my YouTube channel or online?" I'm probably going to say fine, 9 times out of 10. But I think it's on the customer's option to give a thumbs up or thumbs down to that. So that's my kind of stance on content during the show. I don't do it. I don't have a major problem with it, as long as it doesn't become an issue to the enjoyment of the show. Too big. Can shows be too big? Too many tables? I guess so, but I go to the first point, right? Too many shows. Our show's too big. The consumer, in the end of the day, is going to be the determining factor there. If people stop coming through the doors, that promoter has to pay that venue to rent it out. Might have to rent tables and chairs. So they're going to look at their overhead, their costs, their ROI, and determine, like, am I going to keep doing this venue and keep doing this show if it's like a monthly show or a bi-monthly show. Again, they'll have to those numbers will bear that out. Trading inside the show, I kind of touched on this already. I'm not, it doesn't really bother me if it's kind of kept low key. I just don't like, actually, this just happened recently, maybe 2 months ago. Two gentlemen were talking, right in front of my table, which is fine. They were talking about, one said what he was looking for, the other guy said what he had, or he had that. And the other guy said, well, can I see it? Are you selling it? Are you trying to move it? And the other guy said, yeah. And they promptly, like, on my showcases, put down, so they're working a deal amongst themselves, and he put his showcase down, or his card case down on my showcase. And, I said something. I said, sir, can you, I know you're doing your own deal here, but, I appreciate if you wouldn't, do it right at my table and put your Zion case, which I love Zion cases, but not on my showcase where other people are trying to see my cards. The deal wasn't involving me. Obviously, if it was involving me, that conversation wouldn't have happened. But now they were using my table to try to consummate their deal. And I just asked them, like, can you find another place to do that, please? I didn't yell. I just, politely asked them, and they did. But that stuff, that's, to me, even if I was to do that, if I wasn't behind the table as a dealer, I'm not going to put my stuff on another dealer showcase because I'm standing in front of it. But, there's an etiquette in the hobby. We all know some people have it, some people don't. It's easy to fly off the handle and yell at somebody. I just politely asked, and they did what I asked. They, had that person said, hey, what's the big deal? It's only going to be 10 minutes, or, then, the conversation might be a different way. Now, I wish he had never done that in the first place, but, when I asked them, hey, can you not do that right here? They obliged. So, I'm not going to complain too much. Trade night, at your one-day shows, you don't have necessarily the trade nights. I'm not a trade night guy. I usually don't really attend them. I sort of, during card show hours kind of guy. To me, when the card show's over, it's time for other events. Like I'm done with card. It might be a dinner with an acquaintance or a card friend. We may talk cards, but I don't really. It's like playing a 3-hour baseball game, and you just want to like get away from that and just unwind. So I'm not a trade night guy. I get them; they're a huge part of the hobby. I'm not trying to outlaw them. It's just not my forte, and I know I've talked about it before. So card shows are a lifeblood of the hobby, if you ask me. There's good things, there's bad things. Fine, but I can't stress more. If you can attend a card show, there's nothing beats in-person transactions. And even beyond the transaction, folks, it's not even just about the transaction, right? It's the conversations we have with people who share the same passion as we do. I've said this also before too, is, making money as a dealer is great. And obviously that's what we're striving to do when we set up, right? But it's more than just the dollar signs, right? It's maybe buying some stuff, right? Buying some inventory. Maybe it's trading, but also the conversations. It doesn't even have to be a transaction, but, I have people I know I see at shows. Maybe they bought from me before, maybe they haven't. It doesn't even matter. But maybe I just have a great conversation with them. Or their family, right? Or son or daughter that's with them, or whatever the case may be like that. So just those conversations that you have at a card show. I've even said some of my fondest memories and best card shows aren't driven financially. Just I met somebody, for the first time, or I got to know somebody, or it's someone I know well, and we just had a great conversation. Maybe they shared some good news or whatnot. So it's not just transact, and that's a transaction too, right? Conversation is an exchange as well. So all those transactions, financial, non-financial, make the shows as great as they are. So I'm a supporter of them. I'm an active participant again on both sides, and never want to see a day where card shows are not available to somebody. And at this point, there's so many that there should be one that almost no matter where you live, there should be one that should be accessible to you. We're even seeing them now in a lot of countries overseas, which is great to see as well. As the hobby grows, not to be an American hobby, but to be a national and worldwide hobby, which it obviously is.